Hey everyone, Babs Hockey here with the Player Coach Podcast. Here, I'll illustrate multiple perspectives from a player and a coach so you can see the game from multiple viewpoints. And I'll give you the latest in hockey IQ development so you can make better decisions and take your game to that next level. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about if touches are helping or hindering your development. Now, we all see it on social media. You see players, they love to just toss out as much quick handles as they can, the sauce, everything you can think of. Like, there's a lot of quick handles. It's very eye-grabbing, and it's a great set of skills, and you see that. You see some players that are able to do some extraordinary things. You've seen the Patrick Kane video on YouTube where he stick handles through a ton of pucks, then goes in for a snipe. Pavel Datsyuk, several different players illustrate some great skill sets, especially with the quick hands. We see the highlights with McDavid going down the ice when he's on a breakaway, and he stick handles so quickly. It's amazing to watch it. And again, I don't want to take away from that skill set, but the problem is players don't know how to choose between that and what I like to call the minimal optional handle. And so we tend to think that, first off, that touches are the end-all be-all of development. And touches are very important, but we want to think of the quality of our touches. There's a time and place for quantity where we just need to get a ton of reps, but we get to a point in our development, typically between the ages of 12 and 14 years old, where you really need to start developing more quality reps. And it's not so much about the quantity. We tend to get obsessed with something I'm sure everyone is familiar with, but the 10,000 hour rules. And if I shoot pucks for 10,000 hours, then I'm going to be a master at shooting pucks. And sadly, that's not all that happens. That's not the only variable when you're trying to develop your game or trying to develop a skill. There's several other things you need to look into. And one of those things is quality. We want to create quality touches. So when we're thinking about how we're developing our program or how we're setting it up, we want to make sure we're developing a structure where we're creating quality touches. We're creating quality touches that aren't setting up bad habits long term. And so a great example that everyone is very familiar with is you can go on Instagram and you'll see tons of videos of players with this short, quick handle, similar to the McDavid handle, Patrick Kane. Those are two of the big examples where they'll just stick handle super, super fast, and they'll go off into some other move and they're spinning the puck like crazy. And this allows you to feel the puck better. Essentially, the faster you can go, you get a better feel for the puck. But the problem is now you start becoming fixated with that handle. You start wiring this habit where you need to just handle the puck really quickly to feel good. But the problem is when you're actually playing the game, you're not stick handling the puck that much. And the reality is you're only playing with the puck for 2-3% of the game. I saw a statistic where Barzal and Patrick Kane, I believe Patrick Kane was in the top 5. Barzal was number 1. In the most puck possession ozone time in a game was 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that's the highest. That's the elite, the top end are holding on the puck for 1 minute and 30 seconds out of a 60-minute game. And so those are like the outliers. And so the majority of players aren't going to be playing with the puck that long. So you really got to focus on the quality of your touches so that when you do get the puck, you make the most out of those opportunities. And so this is what I really want to address early on, is that if you find that you're just practicing either on ice or off ice where you're just doing a lot of quick handles, a lot of stick handling as fast as possible. I even see some players, they're not even touching the puck, which is, it's just tough to see because they even have video of it and they're not really fixed. They're not noticing that they're not even touching the puck half the time. So they're not even getting any feel out of it. So this becomes a very big issue. If you find in your training or this is a habit in your game, you really need to address it early on and right now, or else you're going to develop really bad habits long term. One of the big ones is that you're not going to be able to essentially have your head up or just be able to scan for options. You don't have to have your head up all the time, but it's more so about being able to scan for options. So the way I like to illustrate this with my players is your mind has a finite amount of energy. So you have a set amount of bandwidth. So we want to say like 0 to 100. So any given time you have 100%, and majority of it at the time when you're playing a game is really going to skating. So you're looking at about 40 to 50% of it going to skating. So that's how you move. That's how you're essentially navigating the ice. Part of it is with your skating. And so that's a big portion of your mental bandwidth that's going there. Now, if you're stick handling really, really quickly, or the initial habit is once you get that puck is that quick handle, constantly stick handling really, really fast, now that's going to take up another 30 to 40% of that mental bandwidth, which really only leaves you with 10, maybe 20% for decision making, reaction time, analyzing, scanning, reading situations. And that's not a lot. For a fast paced game, you need to have as much mental energy so that you can interpret situations and make optimal decisions. And so this is where I find the busy hands, the quick handles really put players in a pickle long term. So they end up it becomes a real issue, because instead of developing the habit of scanning, looking for space when you get the puck, the initial reaction is to stick handle really quickly. I had the opportunity for one of our pro players to come down and work with me last weekend, and one of the things I noticed was this quick handle, and he started to observe it as I talked to him and worked through some of the sequences that for developing vision and hockey IQ. And he noticed that as he started to reduce his stick handling, started to reduce the amount of quick handles, he was able to now use that extra mental energy to start interpreting space, interpreting cues. And it wasn't just looking for cues, it was looking for space, it was looking for options, it was reading and manipulating the opponent versus just worrying about stick handling really quickly. So that this is a big issue that needs to be addressed. If your development is fixated on touches, or simply just videotape yourself doing your stick handling. Do you stick handle a couple times before shooting the puck? Are you just working on quick handles? Notice where your head's at. These are things you can start observing on your own. You don't need anyone else to really look at it. Just take that look in the mirror and notice how, okay, what is my development prioritized around? Is it quick handles, or is it setting myself up so that you can make optimal decisions, so that you can see the ice, you can see space? And this is something that we need to start correcting. As soon as I started implementing this into the development of the players that I've worked with, they were able to notice a significant difference in their ability to read situations, read space, manipulate opponents, and be more deceptive. They spent less time trying to stick handle, less time trying to do pre-programmed moves, and more time really doing the things that NHL players do to break down coverage. When you learn how to navigate the ice with this less handle, this minimal optional handle I like to call, you save more mental energy so that you can interpret the game. The game tends to slow down versus speed up. And so now you can actually work through space in a more efficient manner and create more offense. This is essentially what hockey IQ is. The best in the game, Sidney Crosby, you look at them, like he can slow down the game. Marchand, all these players, Kucherov, you name it, all these players, when they're maneuvering the game, when they're going up the ice with the puck or even without the puck, everything slows down because they're not fixated on this crazy quick handle. I actually looked at a clip from Kucherov the other day and him in practice, and it was just so smooth how he's able to just move this puck into space, navigate the ice, and he wasn't worried about this super quick handle. And so there's a time and a place. Like I said, I want you to make sure this isn't like, oh, you should never do this. It's if you're just prioritizing your stick handling around this busy hands, or you're noticing this habit is inside your game, you're going to have some long-term issues. You're going to be taking away from your ability to interpret the game and really amplify your hockey IQ. to see the game like the best in the game right now. And now with hockey starting back up, you can really start to see the top end players and how they really navigate that ice. The less you handle, the more you have for mental energy. That's the plain and simple. And so what I really want to challenge you to do is work on slowing down your handle and notice how uncomfortable it is. It almost feels like you're not doing enough. A lot of the players, when they first start doing it, they're just like, they feel this anxiety, like they should be stick handling faster, like they should be doing more. But like I've talked about in lots of other posts, and this is the next topic I want to really address, is less is more. We tend to feel the need to do so much. Just we need to do more, do more, do more. But in trying to do so much, it actually takes away from our ability to actually create offense. So less is more. So think of less, what you want to do. And I'm not saying to do less work. I'm saying create more quality in your reps, more quality in your development, more quality in your practice. This way, and you can start getting a more well-balanced training system that allows you to start tapping into that hockey IQ. And so when you're looking to develop your game and you're really thinking, how do I develop my hockey IQ? It starts with your core skills. You really want to start thinking about, okay, I need to get touches in. It's important to get touches in, but am I getting quality touches in? Am I slowing down my handle to really see the ice? Or am I constantly just trying to stick handle as fast as possible? Because it looks good, it feels good, but for a defender, it's easier for them to essentially take you out. And once in a while it work, but you want to work on something that's going to actually apply to a game. And so when you're watching hockey, again, we got lots of hockey now, you can start seeing this. Watch how players navigate the ice. They're not stick handling super, super fast all the time. It's about a time and a place. And so elite IQ is knowing how to choose between the two. When should you be using the minimal and optional handle? And when should you be using that quick handle? And so something simple to work yourself off of is you can use that quick handle when you're trying to pull someone towards you, or when you're in tight spaces around the goalie, it's just you and him. You're trying to work to pull him around, trying to move him around. These are situations where you can use that quick handle, or when you're in open space. But when you're trying to navigate through traffic, when you're about to engage and manipulate opponents and you're working through numbers, sticks, you want to use less. You want to be able to interpret space. And that's really how you can amplify and tap into that hockey IQ. That's where you're going to be able to optimize your decision making and start working your way into these spaces and making your game more effective, be able to create more offense versus just overhandling the puck. So just to recap, we want to address the importance of, we need to have some quantity. It's very important to get that quantity. We need to get our reps. That's how you're going to really start to jumpstart your skill sets, your hockey IQ, your game in general. But once you start getting to the ages of 12 to 14, you need to start looking at your quality. You need to start creating more quality, and that's going to lead to long-term development. Then you want to look at, okay, do I have this busy hand syndrome consistently in my game? Is it a habit? And if it is, we need to start to shift that towards this minimal and optional handle. We need to start optimizing our vision, our head position, so that we can see the ice. The more you stick handle, the more likely your head's going to be drawn to fixate on the puck, or at least drawn down. That's where your energy is going to go versus fixating on tracking space. Where are your opponents? Where are your numbers? Where's possession? Where's your teammates? You want to have maximal mental energy to be able to do this, because the game happens so fast. And with how fast the game goes, you need to leave yourself with the most mental energy to optimize your decision making and really navigate space. That's what the best in the game are doing. And so once you're able to do these things, the last thing is, the difference between elite IQ and just good IQ is knowing the difference between using the busy hands or the minimal handle. And so then once you get that optional minimal handle in, you'll be able to apply it in the situations that matter, and then apply your quick handles when you need to. And knowing when to choose between those two is elite hockey IQ. And so that's how I want to end the podcast. That's how I want you to really start evaluating your development. And this is how you can start to think about hockey IQ in a more deliberate way. You can start applying it into your game versus just working on your skill, working on your strength training. You can start applying these principles that I'm talking about, the minimal and optional handle, the less handles, so that you can start saving more mental energy to have your head up, see space, and attack it. That's how you're going to create offense and do what the best in the game do every day so that they can win games and create offense, score goals, do all those things we love and want to do. And so to end the podcast, remember, I have the IQ game course available. The link's in my bio. This is an innovative step-by-step process where I go through the principles of the game. I teach you how to anticipate plays faster and make optimal decisions with and without the puck. And then I offer in and off-ice training and in-season training where I do a lot of video analysis work where I'll break down your game tape and really look at the strengths in your game where we'll double it down to create a competitive advantage, and then evaluate the weaknesses and areas that we need to start cutting out those bad habits so we can make a more well-rounded, dynamic hockey player. Thanks again for tuning into the podcast, and stay tuned for more insightful information to take your game to that next level.